Coming up this morning on the Dattitude podcast, we're going to focus on baseball. Yes, baseball, with a look at LSU opening SEC tournament play on Friday with one goal in mind, and it ain't the SEC tournament. Meanwhile, it's a new era for Loyola baseball as they're set to make a trip to the NAIA World Series for the first time in school history. That'll get you a trip to a spot here on Dattitude. LSU beat writer Koki Riley and Loyola baseball coach Jeremy Kennedy. They're both here. Oh, they will be here. Live to talk about the two teams' journeys. And no worries, Who-Dats. We will open and close the show with Saints talk as I will ask, was that too harsh on the running back room on Monday? I had a whole lot of haters reaching out. No worries, though. All the haters are still sleeping. Let's get this thing rolling before they wake up.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Is everybody ready for the last day of school? If I'm teary-eyed today, it's not because I'm upset that I think the Saints will stink. If you see a tear in my eye, it is because the next 2.5 months will not belong to me. I mean, as it is, my life pretty much belongs to y'all anyway, but now my life, half my life will belong to y'all. The other half will belong to the kids. School is over, which means my life is, well, it's not that bad. But, you know, I use y'all as an outlet. It is what it is. You know, one thing that won't stink, one thing I'm definitely not upset about, that this is Dattitude. Episode number 377, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, May the 21st, 2025. More on why this is a special day coming up in the last word. It is a special day, not just because it's the last day of school. Although I know a lot of my audience, you're either too young to care, Gabe Henderson, or you're too old and your kids are gone and you don't give a damn. That's your problem, Derry. Yeah, I get it. I get it. My problem is that, see, I was dumb enough to have young kids at the same time. Now I'm having grandkids and they're all like, everything's like coming together at one time. I don't even need the racetrack. I'm wide awake. I'll take a sip anyway. You know, I'm your host, Jim Derry, 35 years in almost 35 years in New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you for being a part of this ever-growing Dattitude family. Day by day, YouTube is growing. We need y'all to help us out. If you have not subscribed yet, subscribe, press like, please. Me and Algorithm are trying to get along this morning. You can be a part of the show. You know how to do it. Type it in your comment on YouTube or Facebook. And if you haven't already done so, as I said, please subscribe. You get in touch with me. As many people have done, I have gotten more emails the last 3 weeks and more comments. I don't know if the haters are coming out the woodwork, but they're coming out. I guess I give my email and X address too much. X at Jim Derry Jr. Email jderry@theadvocate.com. What did I have this morning? Oh, this one wasn't really a hate mail. All he left was a title. He didn't even write anything. He just left. He put it in the title. Biatch, dog. I'm not making this up. Good old Bruce Lancaster, if you're watching, there you go. The Saints are going to shock the world. They got a new coach, a.k.a. Sean Jr. Get a dog if you're skewered, biatch. Okay, dude. Then, hold on. Then I got another one from Jose that says the draft is downright negative on our Saints. We did not draft Shedeur Sanders when they have it against us. Let me put something on your head. When Jaden Daniels was drafted, no one gave the Commanders a chance for 6 wins. That ain't true. I think most people thought the Commanders would win 6 wins. I mean, their over-under If I remember correctly, I want to say it was either 6.5 or 7.5. Gabe can look it up. But I can tell you this. Anyone around this show was definitely thinking Jaden Daniels would win more than 6 games. I know I did. I didn't think they would go to the damn NFC Championship game, or I didn't even think they would go to the playoffs. So I'm not going to sit up here and be a hypocrite. But I definitely thought that they would take a step forward, although I still don't like their coach. Breaking news this morning. Tush push. The tush push is safe. It needed 24 votes to get it kicked out of football, but no. They only got 22 owners to vote yes. Those 22 owners, by the way, should be ashamed of themselves. You want the tush push eliminated because you can't stop it? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with, I don't like it. Why you don't like it? You don't like it because you can't beat it. Get out of here. I don't care if you can't beat it. Gabe was telling me that they had, is it on X, Gabe, you said? No, what is it on? Instagram? He's going to type it in. Eagles posted something this morning, YouTube. And it was, by the way, Commanders were over under 6.5 wins. 26 minutes worth of push clips. That is, dude, if that was my team, you can hate it all you want, okay? But I love it. Just because it's not my team, I don't like the Eagles. Never have liked the Eagles. Didn't like the Eagles as a kid. Didn't like the Eagles as a 20-something. Don't like the Eagles now. There's nothing I have ever really liked about the Eagles, honestly, except the fact that we got, when I went to high school and Shaw wore green, the same green as the Eagles, and for a while had the same logo as the Eagles. Other than that, there's nothing about the Eagles that I've liked. I've never been a big. I guess Ron Jaworski was okay. Randall Cunningham, okay, big deal. Never that big of a fan. Reggie White, I mean, how could you not like Reggie White? But then he went to the Packers. I mean, they knocked the Saints out of the playoffs when the Saints probably had their best chance in the early days. I mean, the 80s. But you got to appreciate that. 23 minutes of tush push highlights, just to basically to kiss my ass. That's what that is. That's a kiss my ass if there ever was one, and it's a good one too. Love it. Lions pull their reseeding request, which was stupid. Oh, we don't want the division. If you don't want divisions to mean anything, then get rid of divisions. As long as there are divisions, they should mean something. Okay. I mean, basketball's dumbing up. Look, nobody has worse playoffs than basketball. Sorry. I mean, it just, don't get me started on that. As basketball goes on, T-Wolves got their ass kicked last night. They got rolled in the second half. Thunder looks like they're on a mission. That's all different. But football, you're not bad. We deserve to be we deserve if we finish second in our division, but we have the second best record. No, you don't. You didn't win your division. Oh, remember a few years ago when the Saints had to go to Seattle because then they were 7-9? So, first of all, that's very rare. Second of all, you want to fix that? Win your division. That's how you fix that problem. Win your division. You don't win your division, you don't deserve to have home seating. Anyway, they pulled it because it wasn't going to pass. So there you go. All right, what we got in the comment stream this morning? I know we probably look. I get it. Some of y'all don't want to hear about anything other than the Saints, but this is not a 100% Saints show. And when we are able to talk about other things and highlights other things going on, especially great talk, like we're going to talk about LSU baseball this morning. We're going to talk about Loyola baseball. We've never really spent any time talking about Loyola baseball. We're going to talk about that this morning. But I am going to talk about the Saints in the first, the next 10 minutes or so. And then we're going to talk about baseball. And then we're going to go back and talk about football again. That's kind of what the show is meant to be in the beginning. And we strayed away from it talking too much about Saints. It is what it is. Charles Mangus, good morning. Well, welcome, Dattitude family. Wish the weather could stay like this year round. I don't. When the high temperature starts with an 8 or a 9, no. Not my deal. Y'all know that already. Kyle Sherman, good morning. Go Wolfpack. Absolutely. Maybe Knicks and OKC in the title game. Could be. Mark, good morning. S. Callie is here. He's here for a few minutes. New job is killing you, huh? I guess you're watching after the fact. We appreciate that. We appreciate that you're here. UBN is, you just hate quietly. Yeah. Who's saying that Shucks? Oh, you're saying because that what Jose said. Yeah, Shuck ain't. Well, I mean, first of all, Shuck was drafted 40th. Jaden Daniels drafted 2nd. Big difference. And you're right. Shuck isn't even kind of close to Jaden Daniels. Not even kind of close. As Kelly says, he appreciate. Oh, he or she. It's she, right? I can't remember. I'm sorry. Tell me again. I forgot. I think you told. See, that's what happens when you assume you know what happens. Love the different mix of Louisiana sports I present. Thank you. One Smoke is here. Good morning. And Brian Cabot. Good morning, Dattitudinals. In the last few years, wanted the Saints to trade up to number 1 in the draft. Burrow and Daniels were in season. It remains a question mark. Nuss, and then maybe Manning. You can't just keep drafting quarterbacks. I don't know. Anyway, we got a lot to get to this morning. I do want to spend at least 5 minutes talking about Saints before Koki comes on at 11. Koki Riley at 11:20, Jeremy Kennedy at 11:40. And then Gabe's going to come on after, and I have no idea what Gabe's going to talk about. You see what today's show's about? Gabe doesn't even know. It'll be fun. Maybe we'll talk about the tush push. Maybe we'll talk about the Eagles. The reason why I want to talk about expectations for Alvin Kamara, again, I had some response from haters telling me I was too harsh. Was I? We'll get to that. LSU, again, their eyes are solely on Omaha. They have the SEC tournament this weekend. That's great. They're the 3 seed. If they win the SEC tournament, wonderful. They have a national seed locked up. And unlike college basketball, I just don't think that baseball puts nearly as much emphasis on when you're seeding and talking about, where they're going to get seeded in the tournament, in the baseball tournament. It doesn't work like that in baseball. In fact, in basketball, they probably even lightened up on that as much as they used to. We'll talk about that with Koki Riley. And then Loyola, their first ever NAIA World Series. We got to have them on. I may have another segment with some Loyola stuff. We'll see. They have a player on their team, and one of our listeners, viewers, is very familiar with him. His name is Brandon Mooney. We're going to talk about him with Jeremy Kennedy. He is he's a candidate to be NAIA Player of the Year. You might say big whoop, but that is a big deal. And he hit well over 400. I think he had something like 8 or 9 home runs and from the leadoff spot. Fantastic hitter. I covered him at Mandeville, so I'm biased as well. But we'll talk about him. We'll talk about the Wolfpack. When are they going to Lewiston? What do they expect? What are realistic expectations? I believe they are seeded 6th out of 9. There are 9 teams in the NAIA World Series. Some years they have 10. Some years they have 9. I don't know how. I'm going to ask Coach Kennedy how they do that. But anyway, this year they have 9. And he is on the opposite side of the bracket from LSU Shreveport. We're going to talk about them too. His thoughts on them. We had Coach Deffendorf here last week. Never made it on the show because of all the Derek Carr stuff. We'll talk about that. And the last word today, it's that kind of week, and I don't necessarily mean it in a bad way. There's a reason why today's special. It's special and it's sad all at the same time. What are you talking about, Derry? I'll tell you what I'm talking about in a little bit. Before we get to the rest of the show, let me tell you about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That's someone you know, or if it's you, it's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt. They're ready to talk to you. They're sitting there waiting. Why are you making them wait? They will start by scheduling a complimentary evaluation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed and begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. What happens after that? Well, we'll fill you in more later in the show after we talk to Koki and Coach Kennedy. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecuritys.com. Evangeline Securities .com. All right. Again, let me get to a couple more comments. She. I thought so. I'm sorry, S. Callie. I thought it was she, but I didn't want to assume because you know how people get upset when you assume. Good morning, Owen Attilio. The weather was beautiful for you in Texas. Not Texas, in Gatlinburg. Okay, I got you. Let's see. Let's talk about the other day. I had some comments on the show. In fact, let me call them up. Let me call up a couple of them that were upset because I wasn't necessarily bragging on Alvin Kamara. I was simply talking about where he is in the running back. You know, when you're 30 years old and you're a running back at 30 years old, it is what it is. People got ticked off for me. Ticked off at me, I should say. Let's see. Here we go. One of them says, I'm not going to mention any. It doesn't matter who they are. They got weird usernames. It doesn't make a difference. How do you know AK won't defy odds and remain productive for a while? Well, one of the ways I know, I don't know. First of all, I don't know that he won't. I mean, it's just like saying, how do you know that the Saints won't, shock the world and go 10-7? Theoretically, I don't know. I mean, I can look at this schedule and tell you that is a brutal schedule as far as quote unquote easy schedules go. That's brutal. Okay. Because you're staring 0-4 right in the face. When you're talking about a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback, that's trouble. So they're going to have to lean on Alvin Kamara. But when you're talking about the running back room, I wasn't necessarily being down on Devin Neal and Kendra Miller and saying, okay, these guys can't do anything. But you go by what you've seen in the past, and it tells you. Tells you what's likely. What's likely is, they need help in that running back room. I guess theoretically they could still get it. They could still go out and get running back help. But how many? I did a little thing last night. I went through, and of the last 25 players age 30 or older, okay? Last 25 players age 30 or older who rushed for at least, the reason why it's 1,030 yards and not 1,000 yards, long story, doesn't make a difference why I did it that way, but the last 20, it's not to skew my results, it's because that's what came up and I found, okay? But of the last 25 players to rush for 1,030 yards or more, how many of them do you think have been since 2005, the last 20 years? How many of them you think have been in the last 20 years? Because football's a different game now than it was today. You didn't need to run a 4.4 and have a cloud of dust and be this powerful guy. And AK-41 is a special dude. He's always been a special kind of running back. But that's my question. I'm going to tell you right now. The answer to the question, how many running backs who have gone for rush for over 1,030 yards, 25 of them have done it ever. 25 running backs ever have done rush for 1,030 yards or more. How many of them in the last 20 years? 2. One of them was Derrick Henry last year, who was, again, is a freak of nature. I think the other one was, who was the other one? I think the other one was like Frank Gore 15 years ago or something along those lines. Or it was, no, I take it back. It was Adrian Peterson. That's who it was. And that was a while ago. So, that's why I say what I say. I'm not trying to hate on Alvin Kamara. Things change for you. You become a different running back. It's different from being a running back and being like a left guard. You can be a left guard at age 30 and still perform at a top. You could absolutely be a quarterback. We've seen that. Drew Brees was, don't get me wrong, y'all might hate me for saying this, but Drew Brees probably should have retired, I don't know, 2-3 years before he did. But he was Drew Brees until he was about 38 or 39. Tom Brady's a different animal. He was Tom Brady until he was like 44. But a quarterback, for the most part, I think most quarterbacks can go to the 35, 36, 37 and be that quarterback. It's different when you're a running back because you're taking hits on every single play. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's why I'm not saying I don't expect Alvin Kamara to be a good player, because I think he's going to be an important player for this team. But when you look at this schedule and just think about who they're going to play. Okay, Arizona, they're not known for the hardest hitting defense, but their defense is definitely better. San Francisco's got a tremendous defense they're going to hit you and hit you hard. Seattle's got a solid defense. Buffalo's got a solid defense. Got the Giants and Patriots now. Bears have definitely gotten better. So, you just look at those first 7 games. That's enough. You got 4 teams right there that can really wear you down. Again, he's not a power running back. I understand that. Earl's Pick says it's not just 30, but he's also a heavily used back over his career. So 2 things against him. Amen. That's why when we're talking about, we've always talked about it. Look at how many touches a running back has. It's not just his age. In fact, sometimes I don't even look at the age. I just look at overall touches. Kamara has as many touches for someone his age as anybody in the league. Earl says he's the type of player who can overcome it, but it wouldn't be surprised if he drops off even more. I'd be shocked if he doesn't drop off. I'm not saying he's going to become a below average running back or even an average running back. I still think he's enough. But what else do the Saints have? Got to have that. All right. We're going to come back to football later in the show. Again, we're going to have Koki Riley on in just less than a minute. And also Loyola coach Jeremy Kennedy's coming on this morning. So we will talk about Saints again, probably about noon. We'll be back to Saints. But I definitely want to spend time this morning talking about baseball because, frankly, we just haven't done it enough. So we're going to do it today. It's overdue. And we welcome Koki Riley into the show. Koki, you have been super busy. And how exciting is it to SEC tournament time? And when you saw that schedule to say, we got the 6:30 game, which means a probably 9 o'clock game, which means you won't be going to bed till 1 a.m. on Friday.
Yeah, but I guess we're used to it at this point, right? Again,
with rain delays and everything you've had.
Yeah, and like with the fact that all your listeners are about to be bored out of their minds when I start talking about this, but it's like the game ends closer to 1, but you're also writing afterwards because you're like editing the story you've been writing throughout the game, and then you're probably writing something else smaller after that. So by the time it's all over, you're lucky if you're lucky if you're out of the park by like 2:30.
Well, that's one huge advantage of having a 20-something covering LSU baseball, because you just don't get. That's when 20-somethings are up anyway. It's been a long time for me, but that's at least what I remember when I was 20-something. I don't think I ever went to bed before 2 a.m. So that's just what it is, right? We'll get off of that. So LSU will play in the SEC tournament. They'll play either 6-seeded Auburn, 11-seeded Mississippi State, or Texas A&M, 14th seed. Does it matter? Talk about what LSU's done against those 3 teams first of all.
They've played all of them, which isn't always the case.
Right.
Last year, I think for the first time, maybe in program history, they played every team in the SEC because they played the teams that they didn't play in the SEC tournament. Now I don't think that's even possible now because of, maybe I guess it is, but I don't know if it's even possible now because of the 16-team league. But anyway, so Mississippi State, they swept them. And that was when Mississippi State was really, really struggling. But really, and especially since they made the coaching change, now they're pretty comfortably a tournament team, even if they lose today's game, which is happening, I think, right now as we're recording with Texas A&M. A&M, LSU lost 2-3 in that series on the road. This is when A&M, before the total collapse against Missouri, the next week, actually, where Missouri was a team that was 0-24 in conference play, and then they got swept by them at home. You can't do that, especially when you're already kind of on the bubble and dropped their RPI like 20 spots. It was a disaster. So they're in a kind of a must-win situation this weekend in Hoover. They got to win the whole tournament pretty much. And then with Auburn, you're looking at a team that already swept LSU, and that was on the road. That was at Auburn, but LSU could really use a win against them just for
mental purposes.
Really matter because I think they're going to be a top 8 seed anyway, but it wouldn't hurt.
That's kind of where I was going with this. I mean, don't get me wrong. You want to win the SEC tournament.
Yeah.
It is a badge of honor, but it's not like last year. It's not like, some years that this team has been in this boat. They are going to be a national seed, barring something really out of the ordinary happening. They're going to be a national seed. And so, I mean, how much emphasis do you put? I mean, of course, again, you want to win, of course, and not playing until Friday helps. But in the grand scheme of things, you're thinking about where your regional is going to be. It's going to be in Baton Rouge, and you're thinking about next weekend.
Yeah, you are thinking about next weekend, but you mentioned the Friday thing. The Friday thing helps a ton because even so Vanderbilt and Texas get the double bye too, right? Because they're top 4 seeds. But they have to play on Thursday, so they still have to kind of decide what they're going to do with their top starter heading into that game, because they also have this day off between Thursday and the Saturday if they win. So they're kind of in a stranger situation in a way. But if you're LSU, it's, you can just play this like a normal weekend series. I mean, you shouldn't. You're not going to throw Kate Anderson 135 pitches and then you get to Oklahoma,
right?
But what you're going to do though is, again, treat this like a normal weekend series and just kind of be able to put these guys on their normal schedule, which is kind of what you want to do, because you'd rather not have to have them wait 2 weeks before they have to play again. So that's another benefit of winning a game. So you can get Ianson on the mound,
right?
In real competition as like a nice little warm up before the real party starts. So yeah, I mean, it's not that important of a weekend, obviously, in the grand scheme of things, but I don't think Jay Johnson would mind a win or two.
Just for this team, I mean, I know this is probably a dumb question, and it's in the headline today. And if for those who listen and after the fact, they're listening on their audio only streams, the headline is Omaha or bust for the Tigers, or the question mark. Is that the case? Is it Omaha or bust? Is this season a failure if they don't get to Omaha?
Jim, that's every year, you could have asked this question in February and I would have given you the same exact answer, because this team's expectation is to make it to Omaha. And I feel like that's a fair expectation given the amount of talent that they bring in every single year. Given, now that we have a whole season in front of us, now we see that they're one of the 8 best teams in the country. That kind of explains that as well. So, not saying that everybody should be fired if they don't get in. That's not what I'm saying, but I do think that, it's not a successful season if they don't get to Omaha. And last year we maybe had to adjust expectations maybe a little bit, just because, they won the national championship the year before. They got off to such a slow start to the point where there was a worry that they weren't even going to make the tournament. And once they got in, it was like, almost like a sigh of relief, right? Because you're LSU, you have to make the tournament every single year. And then they almost beat an Omaha caliber team in their own regional, and North Carolina was literally 2 outs away from doing so. So I think this year, though, you don't have that, because they were as good as we thought they were going to be. And they're probably going to be at home, almost certainly going to be at home for the regional and the super regional. And this team plays much better at home in a regional super regional. Not saying that they can't lose, or they aren't going to lose. They could. But it's, the way things are setting up, it's Omaha or bust. I feel like that's a fair expectation to have.
The recent standard, obviously, for these Tigers, and I'm not going to go back. I mean, they get 7 national championships, so you're not going to go back and I'm say, well, this the '93 team or whatever, the 2000 team, whatever. But as far as recent standard go, you have to look back to 2 years in Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz, and I mean, obviously, that team was kind of destined. I mean, that wasn't just Omaha or bust; that was basically national championship or bust. How do you compare this current team? And again, there's no Paul Skeens, there's no Dylan Cruz. You don't have to. I mean, just the collection of talent that this team has compared to that team from 2023.
I think offensively, this team is definitely a couple steps behind that team. But I think if this team has an advantage, it's that their pitching is probably deeper than that team was. And part of the reason is because of the injuries that the 2023 team had to go through. And that was the big question mark heading into that postseason was, did they even have enough pitching to get through a regional? Did they have enough pitching to get through Omaha? Especially after they lost that second game, it was like, all right, they got to win 3 games in 3 days. And they might have Paul available for one of them. So how are they going to do this? So that was like a big question for them. And they were able to, weather the storm. A couple of guys stepped up. They pitched in a park that really helped them out from a pitching perspective. I mean, they had a lot of high fastball pitchers, high induced vertical break guys who, force a lot of fly balls. And if you're playing in a fly ball park where, everything gets bat down, home runs turn into routine flyouts, that really helps you. And that really helped them that year. And they just did enough offensively, despite the fact that they were a home run hitting team as well, to get through those 3 games, to get to the final and win the whole darn thing. Right. So, we don't know how the bracket will play out if they even get there in Omaha. But when you look at this LSU team, you're looking at a team that is, again, much deeper from the mound. They have 2 very, very reliable starters, arguably 2, maybe the best 1-2 punch in the country, with Anthony Ianson and Cade Anderson. And then after that, they have some options. Jaden Newt has really stepped up lately out of the bullpen as like a multi-inning guy. Chase Shores has pitched a little bit better. Now he's been moved to the bullpen and has made a couple of mechanical adjustments. Casey Evans has been fantastic for them for the vast majority of the season. Lately, hasn't been going quite as well for him, but again, he's just a freshman. So I guess it's nice that a couple other guys have stepped up, so you don't have to rely on him quite as much, maybe. But he's also another option as like your third starter. And then you look at a guy like Zach Cowan, who last weekend and a couple weekends ago against Texas A&M aside, he's been absolutely lights out. So they have depth and they have options. And even outside of that, they have a lot of talented guys who can be great on one day and maybe not so great on the next. But at least they're options, and you feel like you have a little bit more trust in the depth of this pitching staff. And again, those starters we've seen them throw complete games already this season. So I think when you go into a regional or even a super regional, you're not going to face teams that are as talented as an Arkansas or a Tennessee. There's at least a decent chance you're not. And, that makes you feel good because especially those top guys have pitched well, even against those, top teams.
I covered Cade Anderson at St. Paul's, and I got to be honest, like as good as he was, and he had an excellent on his junior season. He went to Catholic High and almost beat Catholic High, which is it's a nearly impossible task to do, and nearly beat Catholic High his junior season. And really, he was the reason why St. Paul's was where they were. But I got to say, I knew he was going to be something at LSU. I got to say, though, I never saw him being what he has turned out to be. And of course, he's not Paul Skeens. No one is. But I mean, he has really been, you talk about the reliable pitching, and he is obviously one of those 2 anchors that you talk about. And, to me, to be able to win a national championship, you kind of have to have that, unless you just have ridiculous, the hitting that LSU had. And you had Paul Skeens, by the way. You had this incredible, ridiculous age. You had the 1-2 punch in the draft. But to me, you have to have those anchors that LSU has to be able to have a chance to win that. And that gives them a major leg up, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Cade Anderson's going to be the first or second pick, but I think he's going to go in the top 10. I'm very confident to say he's going to be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. Part of what probably helps him is that he's a sophomore and they can develop his body further, but he's also incredibly polished. So you kind of have a little bit of upside, but the floor is really high with him because he throws 4 pitches, throws them all for strikes, and they're all like legit plus pitches. Maybe none of them is like the Roki Sasaki forkball. It's not like the most it's not a calling card, unbelievable, no one can hit it pitch. But it's when you have 4 pitches that you can throw for strikes and they're all plus pitches, that's when.
So you're saying he's not going to start for the Dodgers next year?
Yeah, maybe not. But he's really good, and the thing is, Anthony Ianson's numbers are even better. Even if a lot of people don't, even if he's not quite as the same prospect,
especially the last month of the season, right?
Yeah, the last month he's been incredible for them.
Yeah,
and when you have those 2 guys at the top of the rotation, it makes everything so much easier. So
compare personalities, this team to the 23 team. I mean, we always talk about how important chemistry is when you're talking about winning a championship, and obviously LSU had that thing. And you can go back to me. a lot of the being old, like, and one advantage to being old is you remember. Like, I remember specific things about each one of these teams, and they just had those personalities. It seems like, does this LSU team have that chemistry, have that personality? How does it compare to 23?
They have chemistry, but they don't have quite the same personality that 2023 team had. The 2023 team was older. They had these like A+++ character guys who were also like loud and boisterous and like born leaders, you know what I mean? And there was like this almost professional energy to them, while also, you know, they had, you know, they weren't afraid to, you know, get really, really like personable and loud, you know, like
Right.
Kate Belosa was a big personality. Braden Jobert was a big personality. Even Gavin Guidry as a freshman was a big personality, you know, like Paul Skeens was in the military, you know, like that was kind of the vibe of that team, which is different from this team, where this team definitely has a goofy side. Like Jake Brown is kind of the guy who pushes that. But they're also quieter, and they're a little bit younger, and they kind of more go about their business. And I mean, there's a little bit of that, I guess, FU energy to at least how Stephen Milam plays, and some of these guys where it's almost like it's a little bit more silent assassin. So the personality is different, and it's not quite as like obvious, you know, as the 2023 team was, right? Where
does Jay Johnson encourage that? Is that something he likes?
Yeah. I mean, Jay Johnson, he seems like he's a drill sergeant, and in some ways he is, but at the same time, he doesn't have rules to tamp down personality. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like, it's not, I don't know. It's like, it's hard to even describe. He's not Bobby Knight or Kim Mulkey, you know, where he's also the personality. It's not that, but he's also not doing anything to, you know, prevent that stuff either. Like, he's fine with them, you know, doing, you know, shenanigans during games or before games or any of that sort of stuff. This team, I think, is more goofy than the 2023 team was, and a little bit younger, and they're just kind of like, they quietly go about their business. When they're down, they're, you know, it's straight. They're, you know, like straight faced. When they're up, they're straight faced. When they win,
is that more fun for you to cover?
I don't know. I don't know if it makes a huge difference for me. I think, like, there are definitely guys who are good interviews. Don't get me wrong, even if they're not as many big personalities. But yeah, like, it's different though. It's definitely different. Like, the 2023 team was like older, and I don't want to say they were more mature, because I think this team is still fairly mature given their age, but that team was really mature.
All right, lastly, we got 2 minutes left, but I want to get your opinion on it. Okay, as you go in the SEC tournament, I mean, what is your feeling for? I'm not asking you to tell me whether you think LSU is going to win the national championship, but just an overall gut feeling for what should we be looking for over the next month with this team. I mean, last year, I don't think anyone expected. I got to be honest. I didn't. Yeah, sure, we were upset that LSU didn't go to Omaha, but they had us on the edge of their seat. And it was heartbreaking at the end. You lose North Carolina, whatever. But I don't think most people expected them to go as far as they did. I mean, what are your just general expectations for this team?
Get to Omaha, and after that, who knows? And I think you're kind of a fool to expect any team to win the national championship this year. I think last year, I think it was very safe to assume that Tennessee was probably going to win the whole thing, because they were just that much better than everybody else. And you could tell during the season that. And in 2023, you were like, if it's not Florida, LSU, or Wake Forest, then I would be very surprised. And LSU won. So this year, there's none of that. There's no team where I feel that comfortable. But I think, like, Arkansas is probably the most talented team out of all these teams, and Texas has the best resume. But, like, I don't think Texas has the talent to do it. And I don't know if Arkansas can do it consistently enough, because we haven't seen them do it consistently enough during the season for me to be like, all right, that's the team, you know, because I mean, LSU was probably the better team in that series, even though they won the series, even though the series was decided on an extra inning game. I still thought LSU was probably the better team throughout the weekend as a whole, when those two teams played. And it could be LSU. It could be a whole number of potential SEC teams. So it could be an ACC team for once.
The SEC tournament could be a lot like the freaking College World Series. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's its own little like college world. It does, doesn't it?
Into, you know. So
well, why don't we? If you're good with it, why don't we have you on 2 weeks from today? I'd like to have you on as we're talking about, hopefully we're talking about LSU going to super regionals. If not, it'd be a sad story if something brutal happens in the regional, then we'll have a wrap up on them. But one way or the other, Koki Riley, I'd love to have you back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'd be great. That sounds
All right.
like a plan.
Thank you. Talk to you then, and be safe in Hoover, and at least you're home next week in Baton Rouge for sure.
Yep, that's for sure. All right.
We'll
Thanks so much for having me on.
All right.
Appreciate it.
All right. See ya. Koki Riley, everybody. Look, this LSU team, I don't know that it has the feel of 2 years ago, but it certainly has something's going on now. Okay. I don't know if they're going to win the national championship. I mean, obviously, they're number one right now, but there are so many. It's so tough this year. It's 2 years ago, you had to consider them the favorites, right? Because of Skeens and Cruz. Last year, again, whatever you got more than you probably even expected. This year, I don't know what to expect. Now, I'd be disappointed if they don't go to Omaha, but you can't be that upset if they don't win at all. So somewhere in between, we'll see what happens. Again, Omaha or bust for Tigers, I absolutely say yes, but we'll be talking about that more in the next couple of weeks. Who doesn't have to worry about whether they're going to the next level or not? That's the Loyola Wolfpack. The Loyola Wolfpack, for the first time in school history, Coach Jeremy Kennedy, are headed to the NAIA World Series. And I'm glad to have you on the program for the first time. And, Coach, I've been following what you guys have been doing. A couple disclaimers. I have done play-by-play for Loyola baseball in the past, including one game early this year against Tennessee. It was early in the year. Tennessee, one of the Tennessee teams. I don't remember exactly who. Now my brain is getting foggy. But
I think it may also Freed Hardman.
Yes, Freed Hardman. That's who it was early in the season. And then also one of my best friends, who was also a big part of the show, Nick Morris. His nephew is Brandon Mooney, whom I covered at Mandeville High. So I have a little bit. I've been following the Wolfpack for sure. And Coach, what a ride it's been for you, not just this year, but really your entire 6-year stint here at Loyola. It has been fun-filled. I know you were disappointed. I got to do that entire, speaking of doing play-by-play, that entire NAIA regional that y'all had a couple years ago, and I know it was super disappointing. Well, you can forget about all that now because you're headed to Lewiston, and it's got to be an exciting time for you.
Yeah, it's a great time for the program. Yeah, guys have just put in the work, and we're playing good baseball. We got off to a really hot start this year, and then had some injuries and had a little lull in the middle, and kind of retuned and reorganized, and we've been hot. The last 2 weeks of the regular season into the conference tournament and then regional, and here we are in Lewiston. So see if we can keep that rolling.
Coach, 41-16. And I watched a lot. I mean, I really did. It wasn't the greatest feed in the world. I'm gonna be honest. As a guy who just play-by-play, I was a little disappointed of that part. But I was interested enough. I just turned the sound down and watched what was on there. And Coach, you guys going on the road in an NAIA regional, as well. It's no different. NAIA, NCAA. You've coached in Division II, Division I. It doesn't make a difference if you go on the road for a regional and you're playing at someone else's house in the postseason. It is not an easy thing to do. And you played a really good team there in Atlanta, and then they got knocked out, and you lose that one game, and you're in a winner-take-all game, and it's nip and tuck back and forth. But, Coach, you got to be really proud about the way your team was able to fight through that. And you talk about playing your best baseball, doing it on the road in a hostile environment. Yeah,
it's always hard to go on the road. I think when you're on the road, there's a lot of factors involved. The umpires that you have are from the area that you're in.
Right.
And so there's a human element there that is real. We've experienced that certainly in the past. And so that's a thing. And Reinhardt is one of the best teams in the country. It was one of the teams that was in the mix to win the national championship last year. And they threw their guy against us. That was 12-0. And, obviously nobody's beat him for a reason, and our guys were able to get it done. So, yeah, I think this group's just a mature group. We've got a bunch of older guys. We really don't have any younger guys playing on this team this year, and I think that shows. They just deal with adversity, whether it be seasonal adversity or in-game adversity or pitch-to-pitch adversity. They just have handled it. and don't get too up, too down. And so yeah, it gives me a lot of confidence going into this tournament that we're going to face another one of the best teams and best arms in the country on Friday. But we've been doing that, and so it's just another good challenge for us to see if we can get it done.
Coach, your Loyola's broke 30 win mark you're at 41-16 right now, so you're over 40, but you broke the 30 win mark for the 5th time in your 6 seasons. Look, this has been a good program, but how have you been able to take Loyola to the next level? And again, people now at Loyola, I'm sure, are expecting you. I mean, they expect this now. I mean, it's going to be hard for you to follow this up because they're going to expect you to go to Lewiston every year after this.
Well, it's been our expectation, so I hope they do. I mean, that was one of our goals, is because there was not that expectation 5-6 years ago, and that was our goal. Is like, look, we've got to earn respect from the community, from the high school coaches that were recruiting their players, and so we've done that now, and I hope that that's the expectation moving forward. It certainly is ours. And this was a big goal for ours, to get over the hump. Once you get there and your program, feels it and experiences it and understands what that's like, then it does become the expectation internally too, where you don't have to talk about it anymore. It's just there. And so, yeah, we welcome that. We hope that's the case. And, these guys have earned it. And not only this group, like the guys on the teams prior that, started to change the attitude around our program and, laid the foundation for us to be able to break through this year. We've had a couple other teams. That 21 team we thought was capable.
Yep.
And we just didn't get it done. And we were probably there a little earlier than we thought we were going to, and maybe just weren't quite ready. We had 2 freshmen. That was our 1-2 that year on the mound. And that's dicey going into a postseason tournament. But, this group's just got that veteran touch to it that gives you confidence that they're going to be able to handle the emotions of the situation.
Coach, Lewiston, Idaho. I mean, someone was asking, is it in Alabama? No, it's in Idaho. You got to go to Idaho for the World Series. That's where. When are you there? You're not there, are you?
We are here. We got.
Oh, you are here. Okay.
Yeah.
When do you start play? Tell us what your first game is looking like.
We start Friday, 3 Pacific time, and
okay.
So we play Tennessee Wesleyan, who's preseason #1 team in the country. They've got their All-American lefty on the mound, and they've got just a juggernaut of an offense. So we have our hands full, and we understand that, but. That's every team you play here. Once you get to this point, every team.
I was going to say, I mean, Tennessee Wesleyan, they have their hands full too. I mean, you guys, like you say, all 9 teams in this thing they're all playing their best baseball right now. They're here for a reason. I mean, so you've got to have the mentality. You talk about an older team. I got to believe that this team thinks that they can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, they're full of confidence right now. They've been just super determined to get it done. We had a really bad weekend on the road at Middle Georgia. We got swept, and the only series all year that we lost, and we got swept, and it cost us a conference championship, frankly, and
maybe a home regional.
Yep, it certainly did. It cost us that too, and we were dealing with some injuries, and our Gold Glove shortstop broke his wrist, and we were trying to figure out what direction we were going to go with that. And we just played terrible all weekend, and they played really well. They played above what their numbers were that weekend. It was one of those just baseball weekends on the road. And, but since then the guys answered the bell, they bounced back. And, so that, I think it's hard to do that without veteran leadership and guys that have been there and done that and just don't get too worked up about the situation. So that's what we are, and we're confident going in. I feel like we're probably playing our best all around baseball. Our offense was crazy hot early in the year, and when we were run rolling everybody. And we're not swinging the bats like that right now. Our offense is a little different right now, but I think our all around performance is better. We're good on the mound. We've gotten really good starts. Our bullpen's been exceptional all year, and that hasn't changed. We've been playing defense, and we've been finding ways to score runs.
Jim Derry here with Loyola coach Jeremy Kennedy here on the Dattitude podcast this Wednesday morning, presented by Evangeline Securities. Got a comment from Uncle Big Nick Morris. I don't know what this means, but maybe you can tell me what it means. It says, Coach K, don't eat too many potatoes.
I'm kind of we're in Idaho, and I'm a meat and potato guy from Kansas. So that's a match made in heaven right there. I did have some good background this morning.
That's great. You know, one thing I'm jealous too is because I was looking at the I was like, let me look and see what it's like over in Lewiston. You got beautiful weather. It's nothing like it is here in New Orleans. I mean, you got to stay there for the whole week just so you can enjoy the weather, Coach.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was really chilly yesterday, but our weather the rest of the tournament, I think, is like 70s every day, and
that's
it's
crazy.
Sunny. There's no humidity. This is a really beautiful place. I've been out here a couple times, and it's kind of an outdoorsman's heaven, where the city's on the river, and we're in a valley. It looks like we're at the base of a mountain, but it's just you're in a canyon, and it's beautiful. There's fly fishing and all kinds of stuff.
Do you guys get to do anything? You don't play Old Friday. I know you're obviously preparing and you got more important things to do than sightsee. But as a team, are you guys going out and trying to do something and enjoy? Because I could tell you, I mean, for me, even though I'm a city boy, I would love to go visit and see something like that.
Yeah, we try to. This is one of those lifelong memory weeks.
Absolutely.
And so I recognize that. We try to keep the main thing, and we talk about that and remind them of that. But we're also, when we have some downtime, we'll take advantage of it. So Sunday, the tournament doesn't play on Sunday, which is kind of a cool thing. It gives you obviously a rest day, but we have host family here that takes care of us, and so they put on a big event for the team and all the family members. We have over 70 people making the trek all the way out here, friends and family. And so we'll do an event with them on Sunday. And then, depending on how the tournament goes, depends on, how much downtime you have. If we win on Friday, then we don't play again until Monday. So that would give us a couple days where we'll have a practice in there and do some baseball stuff, obviously. But you don't want to just sit in the hotel room all day either. So we'll get out and see the area a little bit. Check things out.
Coach, also you talk about having a more experienced team, an older team. And, I talked about Brandon Mooney a little while ago. He's got to be a candidate for NAIA Player of the Year. I don't know who. I know there's the player that one of the guys in your regional hit 22 home runs or something. But one thing he said that struck me that I saw on social media is not only do you get to go play in the NAIA World Series and create these lifelong memories like you're talking about, but he said, and I'm sure because it's one thing that's different at this level than maybe it is at LSU when all these players have hopes and dreams to play minor league baseball. Maybe you'll have a couple who will, maybe you won't. But he said, I get to be a baseball player for at least another week. And that just struck me. I mean, it hit something in my soul, Coach, because a lot of these guys that are playing for you right now, that's all they want to do. They just want to wear that uniform and get dirty and be able to, be teammates for as long as they can. And because let's be real, for most of them, when this is over, they might not ever have a chance to do that again.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about when you get to this point for us is you really are, you're playing for just another day, like in the purest form of it. And I think in today's age, that's kind of unique in a throwback type of way where you're just with your boys fighting for another day. And we have a lot of guys from the area, and we have a lot of guys that grew up together, whether it be in New Orleans or Baton Rouge or, out in closer to Lake Charles area. Like we've got guys that came up together since they were little kids. And I think that that has an impact where this is they've lived their whole life together, and they know that they're on the verge of that portion of their life being over, and they're hungry for more. And I think coaches try to get their teams to be in the mindset of play for something bigger than yourself. But when you literally are playing with your brothers that you grew up with, you don't have to put lip service to that. It's just
Right.
it just is. And what Brandon said, it's just true. And so, yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing if you can get that, and I feel like we have it. And so, I know no matter what the circumstances of the game are, if they put a 5 spot on us in the first, I know it's not going to phase us because they have that mentality that we're just going to fight to the end no matter what. We're going to play pitch to pitch and fight like crazy. We know the game's not over until the final out's made, and whether we're up 5, down 5, doesn't matter. We're just going to play the game and enjoy the process.
But you'd rather them not put a 5 spot on you in the first, though, right?
Really don't want it. It really makes it difficult.
Coach, the next win for you will be number 590 in your career or whenever that may be. Just talk about what this ride has been like for you at Loyola. You came here to New Orleans, right before COVID hit. And it had to be a weird start for you. You started in June of 2019, you go roll over, and the next thing you know, you're playing in this weird COVID season that gets shortened. And just what is the ride? And every year, I'm sure, has gotten a little bit better. But what's the ride been like for you here in New Orleans?
It's been great. New Orleans was never a place that I thought I would ever be. If I'm being just honest, it was for my family, it was kind of a pit stop from Texas to vacationing in Florida, and when the opportunity came up, I just saw Loyola as a great challenge, an academic place where, you're going to have to win with good kids. At the NAIA level, there's a lot of people that it's like last chance use situations where you have,
right,
Division I players that have gotten in trouble or done this or that, and this is their last chance. And for us, we're not like that. We're highly academic. Our guys are good people, successful. They're going to be successful in life. And I thought it'd be a fun challenge to see if we can win here. And, we've gotten so much support. We've gotten support from alumni. I've gotten so many emails and text messages from former players, and even some guys from the Rag Sherman days I've gotten reaching out. And so it's cool. There's just, I didn't know much about the area coming here, and the things that I've learned have been so positive. It's such a family. I didn't expect that to be such a tight family knit area of the country that has culture that I think is different than anywhere else I've been. I've been a lot of places around the country coaching, and we have a parent group. I've never done that before. And when I was, when I first got here and I was approached about that, I didn't want to do that because I don't, it's the last thing you want is more involvement. But I did it reluctantly, and it's been unbelievable because of just the way that the family dynamic of the area is. It's special and unique. And we have a host family out here, and when they found out how many people we have coming all the way out here, they were blown away. They're like, we've never had this many families come with a team from this far away in the history of the tournament. And it's been out here forever. And so, I've learned a lot from my time at Loyola. I've learned a lot about how, I always knew character matters, and you can overachieve if you have good people, but it's just been proven to me here with how we've been able to play above our ability because we have guys that are completely bought into what's going on and are making the right decisions and maximizing their potential. And it's changed my perspective on interacting with families and everything. Like, it's been great. So I feel very fortunate to have my time here and excited about continuing to take it to new heights.
Well, Coach, we got the perfect scenario for you. You are on the opposite bracket of number 1 LSU Shreveport. We had Coach Brad Neffendorf on the show last week, 54-0. I mean, Coach, you could get to that championship series. Just get to the end there. Have it Loyola, LSU, Shreveport, and all Louisiana NAIA championship. And we would love to see that. And then, you could shock the NAIA world and bring a championship home here to New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. Brad's a good friend of mine. He's done a great job. They're a super talented team. We actually played them in the regional championship a few years ago, and they got us in extra innings. They had to double dip us, and they got us the first one pretty good, and then we went extra innings in the second one, and they walked us off with a home run. So we've definitely had some battles with them in the past, and man, we'd love the opportunity to get to try to spoil their season that they got going. He's done an amazing job. He's a great coach, and they're super talented. And yeah, it'd be great if we could see them in the finals.
Well, we'd love it here for sure. Maybe we could have y'all both on if that were to happen, because we would love it. We're definitely following what's going on. Any chance y'all could schedule them in the future in the regular season? I know it's a little weird, but
yeah, we talk about it. Neither of us want to make that long trip.
Right, it is a long trip. That's right.
So we haven't to this point. We certainly have talked about it, but after this year with both of us being out here, it's probably something that we should both explore just to benefit the state to have two teams that are in the top 10, and I assume we'll be in the top 10 when this season's over. But yeah, nothing to this point.
All right. Well, I'm biased, again, and also let me put my VSN cap on for a while. Just we're so glad that you're also a part of the Varsity Sports Network that I work for as a side job, have for 6 years. And I'm so glad when I get a chance to come out, and I've done Loyola basketball and baseball. And it's been a treat. I love coming out there, and Coach, we're definitely rooting for you here in New Orleans. We're going to be following what you're doing. We will be talking about you on the show and following the progress. We wish you nothing but the best of luck.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate you having me on, and BSN's been great. It's helped grow our program, expose some more people to it, and you guys do a great job.
Well, maybe we'll see you out there early next year. I know when things get crossed, they like to call me to come out, and I'm glad to do it. But Coach, we're following you. Good luck, and you're not coming back home to New Orleans for like 10 or 12 days, whatever it is. Enjoy the weather in Lewiston and go win a championship.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Coach